I got my smicha in the summer, and by Rosh Hashanah I already had a position.
Where was that?
That's the congregation Beth Israel, and I'm still in that congregation, except that we merged in the meantime with another congregation.
Rabbi Shlomo Kahn, born Siegfried Kahn in Stuttgart, Germany in 1926, was the first and only rabbi to lead congregation Beth Israel. He arrived on these shores in 1939, just a few months after Kristallnacht, just a month before his bar mitzvah, with his widowed father and his younger sister. He would go on to earn rabbinical ordination in the local Yeshivah University and would become a unique figure as a German-born, American-trained local leader. He combined two worlds in which he was equally comfortable. Rabbi Kahn's great-grandfather, Kalman Karl Kahn, was a teacher of some renown in southern Germany, and his children settled in Stuttgart and served on the board of the religious Kehillah. Rabbi Kahn's mother, Rachel, was a descendant of Rabbi Seligman Bamberger, the renowned rabbi of Würzburg, a 19th century sage who was a district rabbi and who opened a teacher's seminary in Würzburg. As Rabbi Kahn became the rabbi at Beth Israel at the age of 26, and yet unmarried, he would quickly fill the role as the head of the congregation's Hebrew school. Together with Cantor Schartenberg, generations of youngsters would receive their religious training for bar or bat mitzvah and beyond.
This was a small, young congregation, and we were in a small quarter, and we expanded weekly because as people came, more and more came, many of them were unaffiliated, and we made inroads. It became a large congregation of 500, 600 members. And we had a Talmud Torah, a Hebrew school, and I preached and taught, and it was a nice experience and built up the congregation.
And grow the Kehillah he did. Rabbi Kahn would become a rabbi to the older generation and a friend and mentor to the younger generation.
I am pleased to say that I grew up in Beth Israel. My bris wasn't in shul, but both Rabbi Kahn and Cantor Schartenberg were, I guess, at my parents' where I lived, came to the apartment. I went through the entire Hebrew school process, including post bar mitzvah. My bar mitzvah was there. The shul and what went on there were an integral part of my life in terms of my youth. I went to the youth groups on Shabbos. We had then Saturday nights there was game night, which was a combination of games but also learning, and then Sunday morning was breakfast club. Whatever was offered I took advantage of, and as I said, it was an integral part of shaping me who I am today.
He was, soft-spoken, well-mannered, very much in control. He really a master of, master of teaching and bringing up kids. And I think he knew us quite well. He knew us quite well. Yeah.
He was, first of all, he was an excellent educator, and in retrospect, I appreciate it more now than I did, obviously, as a child growing up. He recognized when he needed to be tough, so that, if you will, that German aspect came out, but he was also a lot of fun.
He was a very warm and nurturing individual who had a very fine sense of humor, and he was very into Talmud Torah. He impressed upon me the centrality of Talmud Torah, but even more than Talmud Torah, which was really paramount for him, was Menschlichkeit and Ehrlichkeit. He was a tamim. He was a very wholesome human being. I guess I was drawn and attracted by his wholesome character.
Having lost his mother to natural causes at a young age, The young Siegfried Kahn would then experience the horrors of Kristallnacht and a tense few months of escape. This experience would infuse much of what he did with a different sense of purpose.
And my father wasn't home yet. And there were others there who talked about the fact that the synagogue is burning. I remember my little sister, she started out crying. What does that mean? This father was there. And then he came home and we heard that this has happened, and my father began to observe this day as a tanis, as a fast day. And then we heard that they are taking the men away. That went on for several days where we were in constant fear. I saw once an elderly man, they did not arrest men who were over the age of 60. Once an elderly man of the congregation, he came and he said he just saw a roundup of men being herded into a truck to be taken to Dachau. The men were all taken to Dachau, and the women had to take the Sifra Torah and throw them into the river. Many such stories. Then we heard the news that one of the teachers, he was a teacher of mine, he committed suicide together with his wife and two infant twins. Well, I had been at that bris, the first bris that I ever been, because he felt there's no future anymore. And then after a time that passed, I remember how my father once took the paper and it said in it that the action is vorbei, the action is over. So we breathed easy, went back to the place where we lived. But the experiences are very painful. The experience of others, I often think about and feel about that and wonder how I would have felt and how I would have coped. So although I did not experience it personally, it's part of my how shall I say, my community recollection. Especially one family with whom I was close, they all died in Theresienstadt. There I often think about that.
But in particular, Yiska was a big thing. He was machmit that we would all stay in for Yiska because of the Shoah and also in terms of Israel.
His pitch was not you have to be Jewish because of the Holocaust and you have to be Jewish because of the state of Israel. Israel was very beloved to him, but you have to be Jewish because you have a relationship with the Ribono Shel Olam, let's say through the Torah. He was really had great love for Israel, but his emphasis was on Torah.
Rabbi Kahn acted as a bridge between worlds, generations, and traditions, incorporating his upbringing in Germany and his rabbinical training in America, his reflections on the past and his hopes for Eretz Yisrael.
And understood that he needed to let us at times play punchball or play foot hockey. There was because I was more of, I would consider the transitional generation, being born, in 1955. So, for example, many of the times, Rabbi Kahn himself was clearly trying to Americanize us as much as possible. But because of the older generation, he was respectful of it. So many of his Devar Torahs and stuff were done in German, but he also switched to English.
Chodesh is the Hebrew word for month. Its root is chodosh, meaning new. Because our Jewish calendar is strictly regulated by the rebirth of the moon. Each time when in a dark night we see a small, tiny, slim sliver of a new moon, which we know will grow from day to day, from night to night, finally reaching its fullness and completion, then we know that a new month has begun. Fascinating and apt, this ever since Mitzrayim and Pesach has become symbolic of our Jewish people, our destiny, its ups and downs, its highs and lows, joys and disappointments, frustrations, but always the hope and the certainty of the rebirth of happiness.
Listen, I think we were one of the few shuls in Washington Heights that we had a special davening for Yom Ha'atzmaut, where we said Hallel, and also for Yom Yerushalayim. We followed the minhag that full Hallel without a bracha for Yom Ha'atzmaut, but on Yom Yerushalayim it was full Hallel with a bracha.
So what do you say?
And full Pesukei de Zimra.
Oh, Shabbos Pesukei de Zimra.
For Yom Yerushalayim, absolutely, yeah.
I remember Rabbi Krauss from, it was Shari Tikva, or as we knew it, Hanova, and Rabbi Hanova. They were certainly, yes, they were certainly of a different, at least in my mind, of a different generation than Rabbi Kahn. Rabbi Kahn was the youngster of the local Rabbeim. Yes, very much so, and I recognize that.
We still had a Talmud Torah until there was, at one time, and I don't remember the year, there was a teacher strike, and in the public schools, and that sent then most of the Jewish people to bring their children to yeshivas, and then we had no children for the Hebrew school anymore. So then I didn't teach until a few years later when I got a position at the Frisch High School.
And Rav Kahn, of course, taught here at Frisch for many. Not only did he teach here, but he was a very beloved rabbi. People who I meet today, who were students then and had Rav Kahn for a teacher, and today themselves are teaching here, remember, I wouldn't say fondly, I would say extremely fondly, Rabbi Kahn and the impact that he had on their growing up and on their character today.
There was a group of Balabatim who wanted to know if I would start a yeshiva high school in New Jersey. So I started yeshiva in high school in New Jersey in 1971, 72. And after 10 years, I invited Rabbi Kahn to serve as a Rebbe in the school. And there were those who told me, listen, he's not young. You're dealing with high school students, and maybe he's not a young man. Maybe he doesn't understand their language. Plus, he speaks English with a German accent. So, but I didn't let that stop me. I offered him the job, and he became a real magnet for students. Whenever there was free time between classes, students would gather in his room to talk to him, to ask him questions, and to engage him. And even though he was older, and he was very dignified, he wore a hat, a very dignified-looking hat, and he was older, but the age difference did not make a difference. He was a magnet for the students. At the first school, let me add something. At the first school, we had a machina program. That means it's a program for kids who did not go to Yeshiva Elementary School, who were interested in being in a Torah environment, even though they don't have a background from Yeshiva Elementary School. And he taught Torah Sheba'al Peh to those students who came to the machina program, and he was very effective. He knew how to reach those kids, how to teach them.
I came across something from Rabbi Riskin where he wrote about what makes up a Rav. And he talked about a Rav, if he's truly a Rav, he's like the Kohen Gadol in that he has the tzitz and he has the choshen. And I think that very much symbolizes what Rabbi Kahn was. The tzitz was, he was obviously machbid and very serious in terms of learning and making sure that things were done correctly. But he had the deep concern for Klal Yisrael.
Yeah, he was a special individual. He had I'm not speaking in platitudes or cliches. He was an extraordinary Balmidos. I don't know if he worked on himself, it just came naturally. He was just such an extraordinary Balmidos.